welcome to Deck Tech number 2, featuring Tormod and Ramirez, the best friends. Now, this is probably the 6th time I've tried to record this, but the guy outside my window with the weed eater won't shut the fuck up, so we're going to do it with some background noise in it. So what are we going to do today? Well, we're going to be milling and pitching things into our graveyard, and then we're going to get those cards back out with Ramirez, and Tormod's going to make us a little zombie pal. Then we're going to pump them all up, give them evasion to maul our opponents to death, and win classically through combat damage. So let's talk a little bit about our friends here. Tormod, 3 in black, is a 4/2 zombie wizard. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. This would be insanely busted if it didn't say one or more, but for the most part, we're doing them one at a time anyway. Ramirez, 2 in blue, 2/3 spirit pirate. He can't be blocked by creatures with toughness 3 or greater, so that's kind of evasion. It's the worst evasion that there is, probably. The main reason we want him is because when he deals combat damage to a player, choose up to 1 target card in a graveyard that was discarded or put there from a library this turn. Put that card into its owner's hand. So you can probably see how well these commanders work together. We're going to be looting, we're going to mill a bit, we'll even delve a few times, and we're going to get most of our cards back to our hands, or some of them even back to the battlefield. Each time we do, we're getting a zombie token, and sometimes we get a little 1/1 bat buddy as well. And we're going to do all this on a $50 budget. I think I'm going to alternate casual budget $200 to $600 deck, and then come in with a budget deck. Not everyone can play on $500 budgets. Some people can play on $6,000 budgets, but that's definitely not me. But I've accumulated enough staples, and some of you have too, that it doesn't matter. Now, as far as ramp goes, we're going to be using the standard package like Soul Ring and some signets and whatnot. The only ramp card I really want to go over is Dreamscape Artist. It's a 1/1 human spell shaper for 1 and a blue. You can pay 2 and a blue, tap him, discard a card, and sacrifice a land. Then you get to search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield, untapped I might add, then shuffle. Now, this is a vastly underrated card. It's essentially Harrow on legs, and with Ramirez on the battlefield, the card that we discard will end up right back in our hands, and we get 2 lands into play. It is an all-star into this deck, and I highly recommend at least think about including it in any blue deck. Alright, first up, we just got a couple of looters. Got Looter Ilkor. He's got Shadow. He's 1 and a blue for a 1/1 core rogue. Whenever he deals damage to an opponent, loop, draw card, discard. So that's kind of one of the main tenets of this deck. Loot, you get that draw, you get that value, and whatever we discarded, it doesn't really matter, because more often than not, we're going to get it back in our hand or back onto the battlefield. Got another looter here, Merfolk Looter, for 1 and a blue. Tap him, draw a card, discard a card. He doesn't even have to fight. Then we've got Obsessive Stitcher, 1 blue black for 0/3 human wizard. Tap him, draw a card, discard. You can use his other ability, but we're not going to be using that too much. But it's 2 blue black, tap him and sacrifice him. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Okay, now we've got some more direct pitching and milling effects. Factor Fiction, classic blue staple, 3 and a blue for an instant. Reveal the top 5 cards of your library, and opponent separates those cards into 2 piles. 1 pile into your hand, the other into your graveyard. And we got Frantic Search, 2 and a blue for an instant. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, and untap up to 3 lands. Bond of Insight, 3 and a blue for sorcery. Each player mills 4 cards. Return up to 2 instant and or sorcery cards from your graveyard to your hand, then exile this card. We got some mill here with Deranged Assistant, 1 and a blue for 1/1 human wizard. Tap, mill a card, add a colorless. That in and of itself is just fantastic in this deck. Mill, can end up getting that card back to our hand if we want, and it's a little bit of a mana dork. And this is one of my favorite cards in the deck. Grimoire of the Dead. 4 mana for a legendary artifact. Pay 1, tap it, discard a card, and put a study counter on Grimoire of the Dead. Tap and remove 3 study counters from Grimoire of the Dead and sacrifice it. Put all creatures from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. They're black zombies in addition to their other colors and types. We have Mission Briefing, 2 blue for an instant, Surveil 2, then choose an instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, and you may cast it this turn. It's a crappy Snapcaster Mage. Next up is Stinkweed Imp, 2 and a black for a 1/2 flying imp. Whenever he deals combat damage to a creature, destroy that creature. It's pseudo death touch, we don't care. What we care about is Dredge 5. If we would draw a card, we may mill 5 cards instead. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to your hand. Excellent. We get 5 cards in our graveyard. Any of those can be targeted by Ramirez at that point. If Tormod's on the battlefield as well, Stinkweed coming out will make a zombie. What graveyard deck would be complete without Sir Conrad the Grim? 3 black for a legendary human knight. It's 5/4. Whenever another creature dies, or a creature is put into a graveyard from anywhere other than the battlefield, or a creature card leaves your graveyard, Sir Conrad the Grim deals 1 damage to each opponent. You can also pay 1 and a black to have every player mill a card. This is one of my favorite black cards for sure. Then we have some more Dredge. Now we have some more Dredge with Dakmor Salvage. It's a land. Enters tapped. It can tap for a black, but it has Dredge too. Nephalia Drownyard. Tap to add colorless. 1 blue black. And tap it. Target player mills 3 cards. This can be used obviously offensively or as self-mill, depending on what you want to do. Port of Carfell. A newish card from Kaldheim, a couple months old. It enters tapped, and we can tap it to add blue. We're mainly playing it for 3 blue, black, tap it, and sacrifice it. Mill 4 cards, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now we have Cryptbreaker, a 1/1 zombie, which I think goes in almost every zombie deck. 1 and a black, tap it, discard a card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. You can tap 3 untapped zombies you control to draw a card and lose 1 life. Then we have Gem Palm Polluter, 5 and a black for a 4/3 zombie. I don't think there's ever a scenario, unless you just absolutely have to have a blocker, that we will ever actually put Gem Palm on the battlefield. He has cycling for black to discard and draw a card. And whenever you cycle him, you may have target player lose life equal to the number of zombies on the battlefield. This is why he's in the deck. But Ramirez can get this back to your hand, and you can do it again. We have Key to the City, which is an artifact that I hate except for in this deck. It's 2 mana for an artifact, tap to discard a card, up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn, and whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2, and if you do, draw a card. I like it in any Voltron deck too, I suppose, but I just feel like there's better ways to do that. But this is a discard outlet, and it lets Ramirez get in unchallenged and get something back to our hand. And now we got some more Recursion with Archaeomancer, 2 blue, 1/2 human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. This girl is just one of the classic blue staples. It's amazing in almost every deck it's in. We have Blood Beckoning, 1 black for sorcery, but you can pay a kicker of 3. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If it was kicked, instead return 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. Then we have Call to the Netherworld for a black sorcery. Return target black creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It also has Madness for 0, which is awesome. We have Corpse Churn for 1 and a black instant. Mill 3 cards, then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Disentomb, sorcery for 1 black. Return target creature card from your hand. Forever Young, 1 and a black for sorcery. Put any number of target creature cards from your graveyard on top of your library, and then draw a card. Got some more classic black staples here. Ghoulcaller's Chant for sorcery, 1 black, choose 1. Either return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, or 2 target zombie cards from your graveyard to your hand. Phyrexian Reclamation, 1 black for the enchantment. Pay 1 and a black and 2 life. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Having such a repeatable effect like this is amazing. This card might be the true all-star of the deck. Reassembling Skeleton, 1 and a black for a 1/1 Skeleton Warrior. Pay 1 and a black to return him from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. He also usually comes with a 2/2 black zombie. Okay, now we have Shirai, Shito's Caretaker, 4 and a black for a 2/2 legendary spirit. Whenever a creature with power 1 or less is put into a graveyard, to your graveyard from the battlefield, you may return that card to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step if this card is still on the battlefield. I believe there are 10 targets, so it's probably going to do some work for us. We have Soul Manipulation, 1 blue and a black for an instant. You can choose one or both. Counter target creature spell, or return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. One double duty there. Stitched Together, black for sorcery with some real sick artwork. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, but if you have Threshold, that card goes to the battlefield. Next up we have Unearth, for a black, return target creature card with converted mana cost, 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It also has cycling, so in a pinch we can just use that. Victimize, it's a sorcery, 2 and a black, choose 2 target creature cards in your graveyard, and you also have to sacrifice a creature. But if you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield tapped. Next we have Drownyard Temple, taps for colorless, where you can pay 3 to return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Now essentially, if you feel like paying 3 mana for a 2/2 zombie, that's fine. This is just extra. Next up, we've got Mortuary Mire. It enters the battlefield tapped, but when it does enter the battlefield, we get to put a creature card from our graveyard on top of our library. Mystic Sanctuary does kind of the same thing, but it taps for blue, and it comes in tapped unless we control 3 or more islands. But when it comes in untapped, we get to put an instant or sorcery from our graveyard on top of our library. And then Witch's Cottage, it's the same thing as Mystic Sanctuary, only it's the swamp version, and we put a creature card from our graveyard on top of our library. Alright, next up we've got Malakir Rebirth. It's an instant for 1 black. Choose target creature, you lose 2 life. Till end of turn, that creature gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. We can also play it as a land on the back, but we're not going to do that. This pulls double duty. It can protect one of our commanders, and it does see it go into the graveyard, so you will get triggers from leaving the graveyard. Slow motion. This is one that you probably won't be familiar with, so actually spend time on this rather than, like Unearth, who's everyone's seen 1,000 times. So slow motion is 2 and a blue for an enchant creature. During the upkeep of enchanted creature's controller, that player pays 2 or sacrifices that creature. And when slow motion is put into a graveyard from play, return slow motion to its owner's hands. Now you're going to be able to tax probably a commander or something really big. Most of the time, they're going to end up paying it, and that's fine. At least you're doing something. But if that creature dies, slow motion goes into the graveyard, then comes back out. So every time that's a zombie. Now just for reference, if you wanted to take this deck in a more aristocrats type of direction, you could put this on your own creatures. It costs 3 every time, but it's a 3 mana recurable sacrifice outlet. Not to mention you're getting all of the triggers. Now we have Moan of the Unhallowed. 2 black for a sorcery. This one's pulling double duty. So the first time we cast it, gets us a couple zombies, which is what we want. But then we can also pay 5 black for its flashback cost. 7 mana for 2/2 black zombies is terrible, but 7 mana for 3, which is what this essentially will be doing for us, is not the worst thing. Now we got a little bit of a delve package here. The Logic Knot, X blue, counter target spell unless its controller pays X. We probably don't want to delve away a bunch of cards on this because, like I said earlier, Tormod doesn't care how many cards leave your graveyard, only that 1 or more. But 2, 3, and essentially mana leaking something and getting a zombie, that's pretty good. Murderous Cut, 4 and a black for an instant, destroy target creature with delve. Now, I really considered just putting a good black kill spell, but it's about flavor. Sure, I could make this deck $500 with these same 2 commanders, and it could be extremely awesome. But the point is to make a $50 deck that feels flavorful. And we have Treasure Cruise, 7 and a blue for sorcery, draw 3 cards. Next up, we've got Daring Fiend Bonder, 3 and a black for a 5/1 human warlock with haste, and he attacks each combat if able. We're probably going to throw him down and just throw him into the fray because we actually want him to die. Because we're going to pay 1 and a black and exile him from our graveyard. Then that's going to put an indestructible counter on a creature that we want. Probably Tormod or Ramirez. Then we've got Radical Idea, 1 and a blue for an instant, draw a card, but you also can jumpstart it. So this works really well. We can pitch something, cast Radical Idea, draw a card, then Ramirez gets whatever we pitched right back into our hand. Then we got Deep Analysis, 3 and a blue, target player draws 2 cards, which is not a great rate for 2 cards, but paying 1 and a blue and 3 life out of the graveyard is a better rate, especially if we get a zombie out of it as well. Alright, now we're going to talk about ways to make our zombies a little better. First up, we got Lord of the Accursed, 2 and a black for a 2/3 zombie. Other zombies you control get +1/+1. And we can pay 1 and a black and tap him to give all our zombies menace. Diagraph Captain, 1 blue black for a 2/2 zombie soldier. Death Touch, other zombies you control get +1/+1. And whenever one of our zombies dies, target opponent loses 1 life. Then we've got Undead War Chief, 2 black for a 1/1 zombie. It makes all of our zombie spells cost 1 less to cast, which isn't going to matter a whole lot because most of ours are tokens, but zombie creatures you control get +2/+1. We're also running Gleaming Overseer, 1 blue black for a 1/4 zombie wizard. When Gleaming Overseer enters the battlefield, amass 1, so make a little token, put a 1/1 counter on it. Zombie tokens you control have hexproof and menace. Then we have Death Baron, 1 black for a 2/2 zombie wizard. Skeletons you control, which is 1, I believe. And other zombies you control get +1/+1 and have Death Touch. And we're also running Wonder, 2/2 Incarnation with flying. As long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying. So, an army of, I don't know, 8, 9, 3/3 flying zombies with hexproof and menace sounds pretty cool. Okay, we'll run down a little bit of our removal package. First up, we got Aetherize, 3 and a blue for an instant, return all attacking creatures to their owner's hands. Feed the Swarm, which is, I think, played in pretty much every black deck now. Any mono black deck at least. 1 and a black for sorcery, destroy target creature or enchantment an opponent controls, you lose life equal to that permanent's mana value. Not many ways to get rid of an enchantment in black. And then Fleshbag Marauder, 2 and a black for a 3/1 zombie warrior. When Fleshbag Marauder enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a creature. This is basically added for some of the reasons I touched on earlier. I could put a good black kill spell in here, but this is a zombie, so it's going in. We've also got Ghastly Demise for 1 black. Destroy target non-black creature if its toughness is less than or equal to the number of cards in your graveyard. Usually this will be 10 or so that's going to be able to hit most everything. Get Hagra Mauling, 2 black for an instant, which also is a land, don't care. This spell costs 1 less to cast if an opponent controls no basic lands, and destroy target creature. Then we have Kindly Stranger, 2 and a black for a 2/3 human grandma. It's got Delirium, 2 and a black, you can transform Kindly Stranger. Activate this ability only if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, which there should be. And it transforms into Demon Possessed Witch, 4/3 human shaman, grandma. When this creature transforms into Demon Possessed Witch, you may destroy that creature. And we can block with this creature, have it die, end up getting it back, transform it again. It's a recurable kill spell, although slightly costed. Then we have Price of Fame for 3 and a black. This spell costs 2 less to cast if it targets a legendary creature. Destroy target creature, and we get to surveil too. So this is pulling double duty. It's got removal, and it fills our graveyard a little bit. Got Necrotic Hex for 6 and a black. Each player sacrifices 6 creatures. You create 6 tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. This is essentially a board wipe, but You really only want to do this after someone has removed your commanders and any relevant pieces. And lastly, we've got Raven Form, 2 in the blue for a sorcery. Exile target artifact creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. It's got foretell for just a blue. So if we want to split the mana cost up just a little bit. There's just a few other cards here to talk about that don't really fit into any specific categories. I'm running Viscera Seer, sack a creature, scry 1 if you need to search for an answer. And then we've got Reconnaissance Mission to make sure that we are filling our hands with all of our zombie tokens. 2 blue for an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. I play this one over stuff like Coastal Piracy or whatever because it's got cycling on it. It's just better than the other versions. And we've got another modal flip card, Solemnity Vision, 2 in a blue for an instant. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Just digging for answers here. Mox Field shows this deck coming in at about 41.75. Scryfall shows it at about 50 something, 53 I think. But I'm willing to bet if you have any sort of collection that you can spend about $15, including shipping, to put this together. Half of these cards are sitting in your bulk boxes, and I'll leave the link to the full deck list in the description below. This is just a very fun deck for $50. If you like tokens at all, if you like messing with your graveyard, it's just a fun deck to play. It's very sort of mid-rangey. It's not explosive. You're not going to have any turns where you're playing solitaire. You're not going to have any turns that someone says, oh my god, that's insane. But it's just going to do stuff. And sometimes those decks are just really fun. So thank you for joining me today. Please like and subscribe and hit the bell and write me a handwritten letter and send me kisses and chocolates. Leave a comment below. Tell me why you hate me. Probably it's going to be about my voice. I get that. You don't have to do that. I understand. If you really feel like you have to make sure that you dunk on me, totally get it. But also, it'd be cool if y'all would leave comments saying, hey, make a video based on this commander or based around this card and effects like it. Help me. In the future, I'm going to try to make a lot more types of videos other than just deck techs. I want to do maybe some box and pack cracking type videos. People seem to love those, and I like opening things. But I probably won't do any for Strixhaven because the box that I did open was pretty garbage. And if you watch The Professor, Tolarian Community College, you'll see his crushing disappointment. And that there are a lot of cool cards in Strixhaven, don't get me wrong. But this set is not worth buying a box or buying 15 packs. Definitely do not buy a collector's pack. You're not going to get a demonic tutor. You might. You're not. Buy singles, ladies and gentlemen. And hopefully once everyone's got vaccines and quarantine's over, be able to get some EDH gameplay. If you want to see top 10 list type of content, just comment down below. Tell me what you want from me, and I'll do it. If you want to listen to me just slap myself in the face for 5 minutes, I'll do it. I'm a cheap whore. Anyway, have a wonderful day.